Hello, hello. Welcome to What the Fuck is Joy and how can it be your number one business strategy? If you're new to me, let me just take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Erin, and as an entrepreneur, I wear a lot of different hats. So I am a self-leadership coach and business strategist. I am a social psychologist. I am so nerdy that I got a PhD in that. I am an internal family systems practitioner. So that is a trauma-informed therapy method that has made its way into coaching and other healing modalities. I've recently become an author. So my first book, Joyful AF, The Essential Business Strategy We're Afraid to Put First, just came out. All of that to say, I am absolutely obsessed in the best of ways with what it means for us to be human and really how can our unique way of being a human show up in our business, in our lives to create the impact, the success, the contentment, the joy that we all want. And I'll also mention before we dive in, since this is the Neurodiverse Entrepreneur Summit, that I am someone who manages, deals with, lives with anxiety and depression. And learning about how my brain and body work has been absolutely fundamental to my understanding of joy and how it can be a business strategy. And we'll dive a little bit into that in our session today. So, joy. This is the thing I am most passionate about in this moment. And I will say, I wrote an entire book on it, and I still haven't discovered everything there is to know about joy and specifically joy in business. So, I imagine I am going to be on a many years long journey to understand this concept and to understand how to implement it in business. So, I am not expecting to cover that vast ocean today. The goal here is not necessarily for you to walk away and say, I've got to overhaul everything in my business. Oh my gosh. That to me sounds really overwhelming and not like a joyful process. So instead, I'd really like for you to take away a single insight and or a single action that you can implement in your business or your life. I know just even 1% more joy can be game changing in terms of how you show up in your business and how much you want to be there and really the longevity of what you do. Part of my joy is having conversations. So I really want this to feel like a conversation today. And as part of that, I don't have any slides. I'm a recovering academic, and slides are just not how I roll. But I've also not designed this particular conversation we're going to have today to be about information. There's all kinds of ways to get information. I want you, like I said, to take away a single insight or a single action item. So if you want to have your notebook out for reflection, I'm going to have a lot of reflection to do. That's fantastic. But I want to invite you not to worry about taking down information. Listen again for insight and for action. So let's dive in a little bit to what is this idea of joy? How can we have more of it? And before we do that, I want to get us all on the same page around experiencing joy and how we think about it. So I want to start with a quick reflection. If you have a piece of paper out, you want to write this down, fantastic. If you want to say things out loud or if you want to say them in your head, that's also fantastic. So I want you to write down as many things that come to mind to finish this sentence stem. And I want you to be as automatic in your thoughts as possible. Don't worry about, are you doing this exercise right? So just take a moment right now and fill in as many words to this sentence. Joy is. And now we're going to do the same thing with a slightly different sentence. But again, I want you to write down whatever your automatic association is. So the sentence stem here is a little longer. If I make joy my number one priority in my business, blank. If I make joy my number one priority in business, fill in the blank. So now let's take a look at what you wrote or said out loud or said in your head. So to that sentence stem, joy is. Did you write down words that define joy for you? Maybe you have words like play or aliveness. Maybe you didn't write definitions, but you wrote something like the consequences of joy. Joy is necessary. Joy is problematic. Just notice where your brain automatically went. Also notice how easy or hard was it for you to come up with words to fill in the blank. Now let's look at number 2. If I make joy my number one priority in my business, notice what you wrote there. If you were able to write down what automatically came to mind, these are your maybe conscious or even unconscious beliefs around joy. If you look at these two questions combined, joy is, and if I make joy my number one priority in my business, your answers may give you a peek right now into how much is joy front and center in your business. And I want to say that if you struggled to put words to joy, if it was hard for you to define, you're not alone. So when I was writing my book on this thing called joy, I interviewed a whole bunch of colleagues, friends, family, and it was hard to put a word to a feeling. And in fact, I looked at some academic literature and found this great quote that said, throughout the ages, sages have not been able to define it, but they surely know when they've lost it. I don't have that exact wording, but basically the idea is that it's very difficult to put words to joy. So if it was difficult for you, you're absolutely not alone. And I will also tell you that I did not have joy in my vocabulary until very recently. So you're very much not alone, because for me, I couldn't have put it into words until I started trying to really understand it. If you had negative associations with joy, whether it was in the joy is sentence stem or the joy, making joy my number one priority in my biz sentence stem, you're also very much not alone. About a year ago, I was talking to a friend of mine and I asked her, her favorite saying is chase excellence and success will chase you. And I asked her, what if you change excellence to joy? So chase joy and success will chase you. And at first she went, oh, yeah, yeah. And then I saw something happen in her body. And that's why I said, well, what's going on? And she said, I automatically went to seeing myself on my couch, binging Netflix and eating McDonald's. And as we unpacked all of what was going on for her, her automatic belief was that following her joy would make her a lazy MFer. I'm not going to use that full sentence. And I come to find out she's not alone either. A lot of people have been taught that joy is a sabotage. Funny enough, many of us started our businesses for more joy, and yet we have this automatic belief that if we follow our joy, it will sabotage our success. So if you have that automatic belief, you're not alone. And maybe you have some positive associations with joy. And even still, maybe it is a struggle for you to keep it front and center. And again, just like everybody else, you're not alone here. We'll talk a little bit around keeping joy front and center. And I'll tell you, I'm here teaching you this today, and it is a daily practice for me to keep joy front and center because it is really easy to lose joy and to get swept up in all kinds of things that keep our joy out. So, no matter what your experience of this exercise, I want to say that we struggle to put joy first because we're not really taught what joy is all about, and we're really not taught how to put it front and center. We have all kinds of automatic associations with joy, and some of them may actively work against us putting joy first. And we have all kinds of sneaky things that keep out our joy. So let's start now that we know that it's hard to define joy with, let's connect to what joy really is. And I want you in this particular case to walk away with your own understanding of what joy is for you. So take a moment to settle in, and if it's comfortable for you, you can close your eyes. I'm going to close my eyes because when I lead these exercises, that feels good to me. So take a moment to just see if you can connect with a feeling of joy. It may be something you feel in your body, but I do want to give a little bit of a fair warning that if connecting with your body is something that is triggering, please stay away from your triggers. It's okay to experience things in other ways. So you may feel it in your body. You may feel joy as an image or a sound. You may have words for joy. Deeply connect to wherever you experience joy. Notice everything you can about that experience. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? And now come back in to the room, and I will say, if I were to ask everyone in this room where they experienced joy, I know I'd get a different answer for each of you. For me, I experience joy in my body, and it is a full body tingling experience. One of my colleagues feels joy in her legs. What's important to take away here from this is that joy, not only is it very much unique to you, but it's something you can access in any moment. We literally just accessed it now. And what I want to make a distinction from is that a lot of us talk about going after happiness. Happiness is a great word, but it's not the same thing as joy. When we think about the things that make us happy, we think about, well, maybe it's that client we've just signed or the revenue we've brought in. Maybe it's the car we've bought. Happiness is something that happens to us from an external circumstance. And what we find ourselves doing in our businesses so often is chasing that, chasing a goal, an outcome for that feeling of happiness. Joy doesn't require anything external. We've just accessed it now. So, to have more joy in your business, in some ways, there's not a lot that you have to do because you can go within. Now, I want to take this a little deeper because joy is more than just this experience that we just had. And I want to talk about what it means to be joyful. It's deeper than an emotion, right? So I want you to now, again, if it feels comfortable, close your eyes. And now think back to a situation, recent, distant, whatever feels good to you, where you felt joyful. What were you doing? Who were you with, if anyone? What thoughts were going through your mind? What other feelings were you feeling? See, joy is this great thing where we can experience it alongside other emotions. See if you can access another circumstance or situation where you were joyful. What were you doing then? Who were you with? What thoughts were you having? What other emotions were you feeling? Even if you're only just scratching the surface of these experiences, you can go back and do more of this. I want to highlight something really important, and that is that when we feel joyful, oftentimes we are deeply connected to ourselves. We are doing the things that are important to us. We are doing the things that we are geniuses at, we're best at. It turns out that the things that we are genius in are easy and joyful. Oftentimes, when we're joyful, we are also listening to how our body needs to operate or how our brain best works. So when I wrote Joyful AF, this book, it's 270 some pages. I don't actually have the word count or page count. I learned that the most joyful way to write this book was to record it as little conversations into my phone, into a speech to text, because that was how my brain worked. I've also learned as someone with anxiety and depression that my joy comes from being with my anxiety and creating my schedule and my life and my permissions to do nothing around those anxiety times. So joy isn't just this nice to have emotion, right? Joy is about deeply being in alignment and in connection with who we are. So in a business world that has shoulds, supposed tos, we look around at other people for what does it mean to be a good entrepreneur? What is the right way to do things? The joyful way is always going to be what's your way to do things. And so I talked a few minutes ago about we have all these subtle leaks on our joy. Well, if you had to put them all into an umbrella concept, it's that we're constantly being told by society, by business gurus, by the people we're around of what it means to be a good entrepreneur, what it means to be successful. And every time we look outside of ourselves for the answers to how to do this thing called business, we leak our joy. So how can joy be one of your primary business strategies, it's starting from connecting from within. That doesn't mean that strategies out there are bad. They're not. We actually need to understand what are the options out there. But finding the option that's in deepest alignment with you and how your brain and body works is how we create joy. So now my joy is writing lots of notes here, as you can see. Now that we have this understanding that joy is this richer, deeper emotion that comes from within us and is all about deeply getting to know who we are and how we best operate, how do we explore this in the context of our business? So before you can start thinking about how to have more joy in your business, the first thing to do is to take stock of everything you're doing in your business right now, and just to see, where do you have a lot of joy already? Where is joy subtly leaking away or even draining at rapid rates? And where are you not even allowing yourself to have joy as an option? So I want to give you 2 exercises that you can do to start taking stock. And I'm not going to ask you to do them today. And these are a take home, and I won't call them homework because that sounds not joyful, but this is something to play with in your business. So the first one, I don't have a name for this one. They're both kind of joy audits. So this is the first one, joy audit. Take a piece of paper and draw a line down the center. And on the top left, I want you to write joy infusers. And on the top right, I want you to write joy drains or joy leaks, whichever sounds best to you. And now over the course of the next week, I want you to take stock of everything you're doing in your business. You can even do this in your life if you want. And notice the projects, the activities, the clients, the thoughts, the feelings that create joy, and the ones that drain or leak it. Maybe you'll want to do it as you go along during the day. Maybe you'll want to do it as you are wrapping up each day, but just start taking stock. And once you're done from the week, you'll have a whole list of things that are creating joy. Awesome. How can you even amplify that more? Then you'll have all these things that are draining and leaking your joy. And you have 2 options for what to do from there. One is ask yourself, do you need to be doing this thing? So I'll give an example. I sometimes get joy drained from social media. I've asked myself over and over again, do I need to do social media? The answer is no. You can run a business doing all kinds of different things. There's as many ways to build a business as there are people on this planet. So look at yourself and ask yourself, where are you telling yourself you have to do this thing? And is that true? Can't just be taken off your plate. The other is maybe you do want to do this thing, but it's not joyful. And then you can start asking yourself, what is the joyful way to do this? What is the me way to do this? So that's one version of the joy audit. It's a really great way to real-time take stock. The other version of the joy audit is one that I'll invite you to go to my website and download from my website. Just go to the homepage. And this one, you can do it from a bunch of different perspectives. One is to take just an overall, how joyful am I in my business on a scale of 1 to 10. And then once you have that number, ask, why so high? No matter how low that number is, and look at what thoughts, feelings, and actions are creating your joy, and what thoughts, feelings, and actions are draining it. From there, you can look at how can you increase your joy by just 1 point. What I like about this particular audit, and we won't go into it in detail today, is that it also has you looking at other aspects of joy. So I believe there are 4 foundational ingredients of joy, just like there's salt, fat, acid, and heat for cooking. And they're curiosity, creativity, courage, and connection. And you can actually look at your business from that perspective too. And in each one, look at how you can infuse more joy. Once you do this joy audit, you may see a bunch of opportunities for more joy in your business. But I also want to talk just a little bit before we wrap up on some other ways you can think about infusing joy in your business. So as you are looking around at the different things you might do in your business, whether it's clients, marketing activities, collaborations with people, I want you to ask yourself to check in, feel into, that experience of joy in your mind's eye or your body now. Is this thing joyful? Does my whole body or my whole self say, fuck yes, this is joyful? If so, proceed. If not, you have the 2 options I just talked about from the first joy audit. You can cut it out completely, or you can ask yourself this next question, which is, what would be the joyful path? So when I decided to do this presentation, I said the joyful path is a conversation, and it's more about insight than information. When I wrote my book, The Joyful Path was for me to record it into Otter AI. What's the joyful path for you? And if you're not sure, what's the next question? What's my way of doing it? What's going to serve my brain? What's going to serve my body in this moment? What does my body need? And if you still don't know the answer here, maybe you don't get a signal on your joy, or you don't have an answer to what's the most joyful path, one of my most joyful things to do is experiment. Try it. So social media, okay. I did an experiment last year on TikTok. I asked myself, is TikTok joyful for me? And I gave myself 100 days. I didn't make it that far because I found out pretty quickly that it was not joyful for me. But I always am open to experiments to find what are the joyful paths in my business. And turns out experimentation gets you into curiosity, which I just said a few minutes ago is one of the 4 foundational ingredients of joy. So just being in experiment mode can create more joy in your business. The last thing is, you don't necessarily have to focus specifically on projects and activities that you're doing in your business. You can think about how to intentionally infuse more joy into your week. I sit down on Mondays and look at the week ahead and ask myself, how can I intentionally infuse more joy into my work? But even more so, I love a daily infusion of joy. And that's because I believe joy is like a tank that needs to be continually topped off, and it becomes fuel for those inevitable times in our business where everything feels like it's going wrong, or the world has, come at you, or for those days for me when the anxiety and depression are more prevalent than my joy. My tank is fuel for resilience. So I have 4 questions that I ask myself every day, and you can borrow these or you can create your own. So it's, how can I have one tiny act of curiosity today? What's one tiny act of curiosity I can do? What's one tiny thing I can do to be creative or to create today? What's one tiny act of courage I can do today? And what's one tiny act of connection I can engage in today? So connection could be to myself, it could be going on a walk, it could be meditation, it could be a tiny act of connection to others. So I might text a friend just to say hello. So what's one tiny act of curiosity, a tiny act of creativity, a tiny act of courage, and a tiny act of connection I can do today? And even if everything else in my business doesn't feel joyful in that day, I know I have infused a little bit of joy. So I've given a lot today. And so I just want to wrap up with I hope that I have given you just a little taste of what joy is and where you can start infusing it into your business. Keep in mind that, like I said at the beginning, this is a journey. It's a journey of discovery of your own joy and of yourself. And I really believe the more that you get to know who you are, what lights you up, what your geniuses are, how your brain works, how you best do things, the more joy you'll have. And really, the more joy you have, the more you'll discover about yourself. And I hope that even if you had the automatic associations to this idea of chase joy and successful chase you that were scary and no, I can't do that, I hope you're empowered to take one little step to exploring whether joy truly can bring you the success you want. So go to my website, download that second joy audit, and I am a conversationalist. Stay connected to me, whether you join my email list through my website or DM me on Instagram, Dr. Erin M. Baker. Tell me your biggest insight. Give me something you're struggling with. I'm happy to flash coach. Either way, my joy is in connection, and I hope that I can stay connected to you. So may you explore, chase, find joy, and may that create whatever success looks like for you. Take care.